So while the book of Joshua was all about God delivering the land to the Israelites and conquering the land on their behalf and letting the Israelites finally be able to dwell in their land, the book of Judges is going to be a little bit different. It's going to give this kind of bleak picture of the Israelites. And I want you to pay attention as you read how many times it describes that the Israelites did what they saw fit in their own eyes. That very quickly, once they inherit the promised land, they are going to spiral out of control and live a life full of sin and evil. That their lives are not going to look much different from the Canaanites, from those who are around them, who are still in their midst. But as we read the book of Judges, we're also going to see that sin has consequences. And that God, He desires the people to be holy, to be a representation of His character. But we're going to see time and time again how the Israelites, how they are going to fail, how their shortcomings are going to spiral out of control, and how their sin is going to lead them into situations where their lives and their nation are not going to reflect God anymore. And so the book of Judges is named after the people that God raises up, called the Judges. And what you're going to see is you're going to see these cycles over and over again through the book of Judges, where the people are going to sin and they're going to end up being oppressed by a neighboring village or nation for a period of time. And in their distress, the people of God are going to cry out to God. They're going to acknowledge their sin. They're going to repent and turn back to God. And so God, He's going to deliver them from that, and He's going to use a judge to do so. And that judge is simply a person that God is going to give His Spirit to for a time, and is going to use that person to bring judgment upon the Israelites and their oppressors, to lead them out of that cycle. After God uses the judge to deliver the people out of oppression, you're going to see that the Israelites are going to be at peace, but are going to quickly turn away from God again. And it really is the cycle of sin. It's the cycle of our lives. It's the cycle of humans. And we see this picture that all throughout the book of Judges, that spiral of sin is getting worse and worse. Where the first few judges that God raises up to deliver His people from oppression, those first few judges, they're actually portrayed in a fairly good manner, in an upright manner. But as the judges go on, that picture gets worse and worse. We actually end the book of Judges with some of the worst stories of the Bible, where the nation of Israel has completely turned away from God. They're in a civil war with each other. Even the priests, the Levites, those who were supposed to be set apart to follow God and to show the rest of the nation of Israel what it looked like to live in a relationship with God, even the Levites, even the priests are going to be sinful. And so because of their lack of faith and obedience, the people of Israel, they're always at a risk of losing their freedom and the gift of the land. And the book of Judges, it reveals to us time and time again that there was no king in the land, that everyone did right in their own eyes, that they failed to trust God and be obedient to Him. And it's because in the book of Judges, the people, they didn't have a strong leader to follow. You know, where we read in the book of Exodus and even in the book of Joshua, you know, they had Moses to follow. They had Joshua to follow. But then in the book of Judges, they all followed themselves rather than God. The book of Judges leaves us with this picture that the people are in need of a leader, a strong leader, a king to rule over them, to show them what it looks like to follow and obey God. And so as we read the rest of the story of God through the Old Testament, we're going to see how God is going to bring about that leader, how He's eventually going to bring about King David and King Solomon. But then even King David and even King Solomon are not going to be enough to truly change the lives of the Israelites. And that's going to lead us to the anticipation that the people of Israel are still in need of a strong leader. And so the book of Judges, even though it's a downward spiral and it's going to leave us with a bleak outcome, bleak outlook on humans and on sin, it leaves us with the sliver of hope that God is not done with his people. That even though the lives of the people of Israel, even the judges themselves that God has raised up to deliver his people, even though that they are full of sin, God is still choosing to work in their lives. He works in their messiness to bring about his plan of redemption. That one day there is going to be a leader, a king, who is going to truly show us what it looks like to be obedient and faithful to God. And we know that that person is Jesus.